This podcast is a production of Digital and Creative Media Works. To help support us, head to dcm.works to find links to our other show notes, Patreon, and merch. Hey guys, welcome back to the Arthritis Podcast, official podcast of Digital and Creative Media Works. My name is David DCM, creative director, lead writer, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Ben.
Hello.
You can't keep doing the silent intros, bud. It's an audio, primary audio medium.
The couch.
Ben's behind the couch, because today we're joined by special guest, Laura.
Hello.
Now, boy...
It's Laura.
Boy-
In the house.
Sorry? No, you
Continue.
keep going. No, I don't want to cut
keep
you
going,
off from
it's
that
alright.
little sing-song. Can we
That's
go back
good.
to it? How did it
No,
go
no,
again?
no,
How's the
we-
tune go?
It's Laura. In the house.
That's what I thought.
Continue.
And tonight we saw the Dark Tower film, so we're going to be talking about the failure of the Dark Tower.
I'm very glad that
Some-
I was curious what you were going to go with. I wasn't expecting that.
The anger of David about the Dark Tower is too
Yeah.
long of a title for the SEO.
I think
so
we had...
Okay.
Did you want... So give me your context, both of you, for where you sit at with this. Before going into this, what kind of knowledge did we
the
pack?
Dark what?
Good call. Laura, what about you?
I'd seen the trailer and that was about
Trailer
it.
looked cool. And
Yeah.
then
Okay.
all of the cool films from the film were just the trailer.
So,
Had a
question.
few beers.
Which book do you think this was based on?
None of them.
Oh. So
The
this is the
second
this is the
one.
first film, and it's based on the second book,
Oh.
Oh,
but
that's
also
weird.
based on the fourth book and the third book,
What?
and also the last book.
And the first one? How many books are
No,
there?
it's not based on the first one.
How many books are there?
Yeah.
7.
I was assuming they would base it
like
on the
Harry
first
Potter.
one. That's usually how you do a movie.
It's a good Aragon sequel.
So-
It's just jumping the gun. It's just like people that we've already had the first book of something be
So
horrible.
technically, the first book isn't required for the continuity because it does happen after the last book. But
God, Stephen King,
so
you goddamn wanker.
a little bit of context. First of all, spoilers for the film and for the books. But
They all die.
I'm not gonna spoil the books too much. But
No,
time
no,
is
no.
like pretty soft in that world. So that's why Roland is like, I've been alive longer than
Yeah,
he was like. I've been.
I just
gunslinger
thought he
Okay.
was.
before.
I just thought he was quite
I just
old.
thought he was like
No,
immortal or
he's
some
just
shit.
a dude.
Oh, okay.
So time in that world
Normal
is
guy.
kind of like soft because the tower's been deteriorating for a long time.
Okay.
And it's not because Matthew McConaughey's been blasting it with stuff. It's just that the tower decays over time. Because
Right.
in another world, similar to the New York that they had, the tower is a blade of grass and a rose, and the rose is wilting, so the tower's falling.
And
That's
is,
why-
is that wilting rose the rose from Beauty and the Beast? Is this some cross-universe stuff? Game theory.
Game theory. No, so okay, that's my declarative bit. So that's like this was kind of loosely based on all that, and it did a good job of taking some of the really cool parts of the books and reimagining them in a different run at the Dark Tower. So the way the books work, and again, really big spoilers for how these end. Hope you guys don't mind. It's too late now.
Yep.
The books end where they start, so time is cyclical. So
Oh,
Roland
okay.
goes back, but each time he gets to do it a bit differently. So this film was an interpretation of an ending of a version of events after the last book. So it's not the same one that we saw in the Gunslinger. It's one after that. So instead of Roland meeting his other friends first, he meets Jake first. Sorry, Jake second, but before he died the first time. Anyway, so the books are a nightmare and they're amazing. But this was not strictly based on a particular book. That's what I'll say first of all.
Okay.
Okay.
And now I'm going to get mad. So
All
it's
right.
going to
Okay,
happen,
good.
and I
This
just
is
want you to
David's
strap
moment.
in, and it's just
Okay.
going to happen.
Yep.
And
Give David
Yeah.
give him like 5 minutes.
Okay.
Of just
You
go.
have 5 minutes
You
to
have 5
react.
minutes. Go.
okay, so this should have been really good, right? You, as an adaptation, conceptually, this is genius, right? You're given a book series where you have the opportunity to make something similar to the books but different and your own. Stephen King set that up in the fucking last book. He was like, listen, if you want to come back to it, you can. Do it a bit differently. Do it fun. Do it interesting. Do something with it. It's the perfect series for adaptation for that exact reason. It's better than Harry Potter. It's better than fucking Game of Thrones because Stephen King said to the person writing this script, he said, listen, here's my world, and here's an endpoint that takes you back to the start, but Roland's got different equipment. It's a bit of a different scenario. Cuthbert didn't die at the same place. It's really cool. Should have been an excellent premise, right? That's a really good idea for a
You
film.
basically gave it to them, right?
He fucking was like, here it is on a silver platter. Enjoy
Yeah.
Hollywood. Ron Howard, enjoy. Right? And so what
Yeah,
happened
but
was,
you know they can fuck anything up.
turns out Sony can fuck any of my dreams up so bad. And
Sony.
what ended up,
They're on a roll this year.
I fucking, man, they so are. Well, they got that Spider-Man in the can. But
Yeah.
that was Marvel. It's whatever.
Marvel.
So, okay. I gotta kind of order my rage into like discrete thoughts, but I think I can do this. So the reason that
4
I
minutes.
found this frustrating is there were so many tags and markers from the original books that let me know where this was happening. So even imagery was very similar. You know, Jake wanders into the forest. There's a circle of trees, just like the circle of stones in the Gunslinger. The man in black confronts Roland. toward the end of the book, and they sort of have a really quick conversation. Jake is stolen, just like he is toward the end of the book series, but it's kind of not the same. Jake survives in this, which I thought was weird. Like, he didn't die.
Jake is stolen for all of 3 minutes in this
Yeah,
film.
he should. Well, he should.
Nah, he's barely in danger.
Yeah,
It's
weird.
He's such a weird.
Also, why would you pick him
character.
as the main character? The first book works and the second book works because you know Roland so well by then because you've only seen things from his perspective, right? Like, he's this weird dude who has no idea about like the world outside of his. He's like got this weird code, and you don't know that he's sort of, you know, part of. They kind of spoiled a lot of the cool stuff that's very coy, like the Gilead stuff with Arthur and stuff. You don't know that in the books till like 5 or
Yeah,
6
that stuff.
deep.
I
It's very cliche.
I picked up on some of that. I picked up on that and the 1408 reference.
Yeah, so a lot of that stuff, it's all the same universe. You see the Pennywise the clown was in there from It. That was when
Oh yeah, I
in
saw
the
that.
forest.
Yeah, Pennywise.
A lot
I was
of the
wondering where that was from. I was
yeah,
like,
a lot of
I
the
know it.
imagery from the books they kind of dropped in nice little places like the circle. All that stuff was great. It was like the
Yeah.
circle stones. I loved it, right? Which is just like so really cool parallel Stephen King stuff. I loved it. The roses painted on the fucking empty lot at the end. I nearly lost my goddamn mind. So
I
much
don't know what
cool
you're talking
stuff.
about,
It's
so.
fine. It's fine. Stay with me. So many cool things were in there that they kind of laid in with this world lore, and they kind of dribbled it in there in the world. But then they just had characters expose things, like just say exposition. Matthew McConaughey was like, his guns are from Excalibur, and you're like, don't say
You're
it out
like,
loud.
why?
It's dumb when you say it out
Yeah.
loud. Like, you know,
2 minutes.
they didn't even, you know, Stephen Deshane, they didn't say his name, they just were like, it's Roland's father, which is fine.
Yeah.
But why do they call him Roland? He's the gunslinger. Like, you don't know he's Roland. Like, no one calls him Roland until he is an equal with them. Like, that's the thing. That's what they do. They even got the thank you sir in there as thank you sir. They got that in there, but they couldn't fucking just call him the gunslinger? Fuck. And
Yeah,
then
they
they called...
spent the whole time calling like Matthew McConaughey's character the Man in Black. Like, why don't they?
Well, they
do
called
that?
him
And then
Walter
started
too
calling
much.
him Walter.
They did
Too
Yeah,
much.
that was mostly the gunslinger.
Yeah.
That was mostly Roland.
They all
But
they
even
all called
Roland
him Walter.
calls... Even in the book, Roland, like, everyone calls him the Man in Black. And then he's Martin, first of all, and then it's not till, like, the 6th book when you find out his
It
name
was
is Walter.
kind of weird because, like, something that I sort of didn't understand was that because, like, the kid's just seeing the dude in his dreams, so obviously he's like, oh, it's the Man in Black, but everyone else called him the Man in Black too, and that seemed a bit weird.
So the reason for that is, like... it's a really
1 minute.
Well, Laura's burning my daylight with her question.
Sorry.
So I'm going to take that minute back at the end. Thank you.
Okay.
So there's not really a really good reason for that. The reason that it's the Man in Black is because the whole books are from Roland's perspective.
Uh-huh.
And Roland dehumanized Martin/Walter/Merlin when he left Gilead because he was like, I'm going to kill this guy to stop the tower from falling.
Uh-huh.
And he only becomes Walter again when he has this kid, which is the Crimson King, which I thought was a really good setup for that, which they're never going to do because they wasted their fucking time on this film. But the reason that he's the Man in Black is because that's what Roland thinks of him as. He's just a target for Roland because he's a gunslinger. Then what they do is they kill other people.
Okay.
It didn't make a lot of sense for the other characters not to call him that at any stage, where they were like, oh, it's the Man in Black. Except for in Dixie, where he's like a legend, right? He's this guy that like appears. I think the reason that was ruined is because you saw the portals immediately. The portals you don't really get to know they're portals in the books ever. Like, they're just kind of alluded to. Like, you don't really see them as portals. You just kind of, people travel between worlds.
Right.
They kind of slip between them. So I thought having them be they're alluded to as being mechanisms, as being machinery, but to just say all of the stuff was so weird. Like, it was
They
weird.
all just seem to know stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, now they're tracking the kid somehow, and now...
Yeah.
Don't use the mind powers that you use like twice because you'll get tracked, but
so
also
dumb.
not.
It's the
he
same-
like
okay.
uses it and they don't track him at all.
It's the same telepathy from the book The Shining. That's why it's called The Shining. That's why the book is called The Shining. Laura's phone is ringing. Very
Woo.
professional.
It's not ringing, it's an alarm.
She's
For 9:30 at night?
Yes.
We lead different lives, ladies and gentlemen. No, but I just think that they lost the reason the series works is that the first book is so slow and big and rambling, as is the third one, that you learn all that stuff organically through the world, right? Like, you come into characters who call Roland like the last of the gunslingers, and he's like, well, there aren't any left. Like, that's not me anymore.
Yeah.
But you don't get, Martin or Walter expositioning over the top of the film as it's happening, explaining it. I feel like it would have been better if they'd not explained anything. Instead, they kind of did half and half.
I think it was. It's the whole film, like, the universe screams for, like, no explanation. Like, you can tell it wants to not be explained. It just wants the portals to be portals. Like, it just wants, it wants those arbitrary numbers between worlds to be mysterious and odd. It doesn't want them to be like, go to this 1919 and you'll be in the place. And you're like, oh, okay. And then they explain it, and it's like the universe wants to just be like mysterious, and you can tell that it wants to. You can feel it so hard.
Yeah, there's a lot of this like weird mysticism about stuff.
Yeah, and then characters
Hollywood
will
was
just
like,
come
tell
out.
people what it is.
Yeah, a character will just come out and explain everything.
it
You're like,
ruins it.
no, shut up, I don't care.
The whole point is that you work it out as you go, and then you're often like wrong, or it's weird, or it's not a thing. Like the coolest thing about the books is that nothing's ever really material, because the world is like kind of breaking down, time's falling apart. So there's a point in the second book where they get to a town in Midworld, and someone is like, which is actually the town they come to in this film.
Right.
And someone is like, oh, you're a gunslinger, and Roland's like, no, they haven't been. I think someone says, oh, he's a gunslinger, and someone goes, no, they haven't been gunslingers for like 200 years. And Roland's like, I've only been 6 years out of Gilead or something, and they're like, that's not right. And Roland just shrugs, and without an explanation, he just shrugs and goes, the world's moved on. That's their explanation for everything. The world's moved on. And it's cool because you're like, okay, don't know what the fuck that means, but I guess got no choice but to accept it.
Yeah.
And they even did stuff like his infection, where he's got like the blood infection.
Right.
That's the thrust of the second book, where he gets his hand bitten off by a crab.
That's good, because they don't really...
Well,
it kind of just disappears
like,
in this
you're gonna
film.
go to a hospital and
gonna
you're
take
gonna
some
be all
drugs.
better.
So in the book, he goes through a portal into someone. He goes through a door into Eddie's head, brings aspirin back, takes it, heals up, goes like, and it's cool because you're like, he doesn't understand it, and he's missing a hand. It's so good. But in this, they were like, remember in the book how he had an infection? Let's do that. Remember in the book how there was the circle with the succubus? Let's do that, but make it a big glowing red monster.
I don't think him being like in this movie, I don't think him having like that injury was even an appreciably like weighty thing. It was just like, oh, he's
just a bit
injured,
shit for a while,
he's
but
gonna be
but he's
not, though.
But also
as a
he's
fighter for a bit, except he.
But
saves
also
the
it's like
kid
the
with
best
his magic gunslinger power.
It's like the best
so,
fight scene in the film, and you're like, why is he
then,
shit?
Like,
Or why is he not shit? Yeah.
Also, why is the kid any good at firing guns?
Oh, okay,
later?
that I can explain.
Yeah,
so
that
he's not,
annoyed me.
He just literally is shining off Roland to steal it. So he remembers Roland's father doing that exact thing when Roland was growing up. So he shines off Roland's memory of that to do the skill to shoot the gun.
That's cool. They don't explain that at all.
Which again, it's great because in the
that
books
is
when
cool,
it first
yeah.
happens, you're like, "What
You're
the
like, what?
fuck?" And Roland just goes, "Oh well, that's just how it goes."
Yeah.
And then Eddie, the other character, who's the best character in the book, is like, he literally is like, "Dude, what the fuck are you talking about? The kid just shot a gun." Roland's like, "Don't worry about it." He's like, "No, I'm gonna fucking worry about it." He's like an ex-heroin junkie being like,
Oh
"Dude,
my
what are you
God.
doing? Like, it's so
Yeah.
good." But none of that's in here because they try and explain it all. And even like, okay, I got to talk about the action because we need to talk about the action because some of it was
I've been
like
ruined by. I've been.
John Wick is ruined.
I've been ruined by John Wick and like Atomic Blonde now.
Some of this was
Those films
almost
have
so good.
so close.
There was a few moments in this where I was
close.
stunned by how good it was. Like there was a few moments where someone was like leaping toward him, and there was like a great edit where he would, reach across and go bang, but it was like a one take, and it was so good. And then a lot of it was just sort of him shooting, and then it cutting away, and then people
and
dying.
someone
I
falling
feel
over.
like
Yeah.
There's like Hollywood has trouble with like guns in fight scenes.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
they can
hard
do
to
the
do.
hand-to-hand combat pretty well because it's like
Hand-to-hand's
it's
easier
very
to
dynamic.
fake.
It's like
Yeah.
as well,
easy for
yeah.
people to follow, and it's kind of easy to fake. But with like gunfights, it's like you shoot and a person's dead. So how do you make that interesting?
Gunfights are
And
also-
I don't think they've properly figured it out.
I mean, clearly people have because we've got, not to subvert your point, but exactly like most people haven't. There's like two directors. It's like John Wick, Atomic Blonde, and like the first season of Daredevil.
Right.
And it's like that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm actually Daredevil season 2 with the Punisher, but it has to be kinetic. Like that's the thing that this film almost gets right a lot of the time. Is Roland sort of uses the guns as an extension of himself. And there's a few moments in this film where I had goosebumps because it's exactly how it's described in the book. He's this kind of machine of death that
Yeah.
in the books you never get
Right.
like a Roland drew the gun and fired. It's always like he pulled iron and he smote that person in this way, and it's like so interesting and descriptive and violent, and it's like this whirlwind, and you see it how Roland would, where it's
Yeah.
this kind of miasma of
I
murder.
found the way that he reloaded his guns really interesting.
It was cool.
It needs like the whole fight scenes needs more gun carter. Like like it needs more gun carter. Like the
They almost had it at the end
it
when
was
he
so
was
close.
fighting Martin.
I think the coolest shot in the film, pun intended, for me was when it's from the it's from that like sniper's perspective.
I need
you
to
see
pop
him
up.
like pop around.
Oh,
and
it's
he's-
so
and he's,
good.
like,
That was
sort of, like,
good.
he's like hiding behind his arm a bit, and he just like pops the dude and it smashes through the scope. Like I was like, all right, best shot in the film.
Yo,
There it is.
I lost my mind when Roland was. This is just like because it was in the books, and it's like
Right,
they
yeah.
nailed it like shot for shot. He's in the barn and he's sort of getting attacked or whatever, and he scrambles and he like pulls the bullet off the ground and does the one reload and lands and shoots it.
Yeah.
And like as he lands, it goes off, and it's like yes, and then he does it. And the end with Martin. That's not from any of the books, but that was like I was like, oh, that's a cool idea. Like that fight scene was like I was like, that's a cool way to do it. Except Martin just like in the books when you shoot him, nothing happens because he's just a
Yeah,
guy.
I
If
thought
you
it-
shoot him, he just dies
Yeah.
because he's not a real sorcerer. Well, or is he? But it's like it just felt like
Yeah, I
too
thought the weird Star
weird.
Wars thing was a bit.
the Star Wars thing.
He has like the Force. He essentially has the Force. Where he's just like he's like playing Connect with
Yeah.
like all the things and like throwing
It was-
He
bullets
did
back.
seem
and
a
forth.
little like
Bored.
stilted in the end. He's just
Yeah,
like doing
he
this,
seemed a
and
little
you're like,
bored.
They were like Matthew McConaughey, take that mullet and do that action.
Matthew McConaughey's just like I was in. Fucking...
He did. You know, he did his
seemed to
best.
know, like
Yeah.
the actor didn't seem to know really what he was interacting with.
It was like I was in Interstellar.
He was just like
weird.
doing
You were
this
in
with his
Interstellar.
hand, like weird motions with his hands and like.
Yeah,
Okay.
like he was playing the Connect. He was playing.
He was a bit of this. Hey, can we talk about how good fucking Idris Elba was?
Oh my
with
fucking
what
God.
little he was given
He-
to work
Right.
with.
He
Yeah.
held,
crushed
yeah,
it.
he smashed this.
He
I
was really
think.
good.
Why wasn't he the main character?
I actually think.
What?
They
the-
wanted to make a child actor the main.
It's an
character
adult
because-
film. There's people getting shot in the head and people
You know,
getting sorted.
For some weird reason, I spent like the first 20 minutes of that film being terrified that something was going to happen to the kid.
Okay,
I kinda
so
wish something
that's the whole
happened to him.
point. Well, the whole point of that book is that he's already died once. So in the first book, he dies.
Spoilers.
Yeah, why is that spoilers? Yeah, so that sense of impending doom always comes with Jake because Roland always sacrifices him to get to the tower. Except in this, he didn't die. So I was like, what was the point of having Jake in the story at all?
I was waiting for him to like. I was waiting for like a part of the film to him be in like the machine getting his brain sucked on
Roland shoot him.
and Roland shooting him.
Would've been
I
perfect.
was waiting. I
Would've
was
been
waiting
such a
for
good
the
resolution.
sacrifice. Yeah.
Didn't happen because you can't kill a fucking kid in Hollywood.
Yeah, I was waiting for like the kid to be like there to be like some reason as to like, you know, the only way you can save the tower is if you kill me.
That's how it works in the book. He has to keep killing the kid. The way that
Oh,
Roland
man.
saves the tower in the books is he has to keep killing the kid. And the only
Yeah.
reason it falls in the end.
because he doesn't.
Well, it doesn't really, but like because he
Yeah,
says no,
I was,
Jake's more important.
I was
and then they
waiting
have to
for
work
him.
around
I was waiting for him to kill the kid.
It's
I was
Ben,
waiting.
You don't understand my frustration with you picking that and being like that would have been a good ending.
Because
But you can't kill a. Okay, but also you know what the demon in the forest that kind of
That was
lured
dumb.
him in. That was dumb. Okay, so in the book that happens. They come out of the desert, which they have for like 8 seconds. But they
Sure.
come out of the desert, and Jake's sort of attracted to the succubus, and the succubus kind of has his way with Jake, and then Roland saves him, but Jake doesn't remember it. And then later on, Roland.
That's what you mean by the succubus. Whenever
Yeah.
you say succubus, I immediately just like.
It's like an invisible kind of force thing in these stones.
Laura's just giving me a look.
Just giving you a look.
I didn't say anything. I'm just.
No,
getting
I
a
know
look
it's
from
fine.
Laura.
But that whole sequence works really well in the. I hate to be the guy that's like comparing it to the book, but the reason it works in the source material is because you don't really understand what's happening, and Roland parlays with this succubus because he can see the future, and he demands to know what's going to happen to the kid. And the succubus is like, "Dude, you're going to have to kill him to get to the tower," and Roland's like, "Okay, that's
Alright.
fine." So then he
Barely know the kid.
He bargains with the succubus. So and Roland does a lot of sex in the book. Like he fucks a lot of things, and he doesn't fuck
Fuck a
one thing.
succubus.
Yeah, he fucks a succubus, and then he fucks Allie in this thing, and then he kills everyone in town. It's a really good book. And in this, he didn't fuck anyone. And that's a big part of the whole.
Was this film PG?
No, it was. Well, that's no, it was M. But
Was it
why
M?
was it M? If it was gonna be PG, be a kids film, but it wasn't. It was like in between both.
Yeah,
make
it
it a
was-
Stephen King
was-
R-rated film.
It
For
needed to be
the, for
MA.
the
Yeah.
tone of like what the film was, I was really surprised that they killed the mom.
You
They
know,
didn't show her dying though. They just showed the. They didn't even show like
But
her
I was
body.
still really surprised that she died.
yo, she was a hot mom though.
Oh yeah, door opened. I was like,
Hot
"Ooh."
mom. I was like, oh, that's a hot mom.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Okay, so going back to, I don't want to compare it to the books. That's a lazy thing to do. The reason I didn't enjoy this film is that structurally it was almost there.
This has a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh,
That's 6 out of 10 on IMDb, but like that
16 is harsh.
That's rough.
It's not that bad. I think it's just
No.
everyone knows how good
The New York
I mean,
Times
my
about the
feeling
only
coming out
thing
of it
holding
was
this
that it was
together is
average.
Idris Elba.
he does a lot of good work. Even Matthew McConaughey's like characterization,
alright
they
at
wrote
this.
him a bit wrong though.
They what?
Like he wasn't
did?
sardonic enough. Like he didn't do enough weird jokes and rhymes and shit.
He
What are
was just like weirdly like, dude.
He was a bit evil.
I
and
thought when he
sometimes a bit weird.
squished that girl's face, I thought that was the funniest fucking thing in the film. He's just like, she's just like,
Yeah, he did. He's a funny character. That's what he does. Like he's a funny in the books. He's funny and crazy.
In this
like
one, they tried to make him more like
evil and weird.
foreboding.
they tried to
and,
make
like,
him very like
I don't know.
Dark Knight Joker.
He's supposed to be like just a funny
Instead of,
guy who's
like-
magic and weird. And
Yeah,
like he'll do stuff like he'll walk up to Roland and be like, "Shit, man." Roland's
They
like, "I'm not
they
gonna
tried to
shoot
make
you.
him
We have
Dark
a
Knight
joke."
Joker instead of like cartoon Joker.
Yeah, and he should have been
like
cartoon.
animated series.
Because Matthew
Joker.
McConaughey would have been great at that. Because he has a
Yeah.
good cackle. Like the Man in Black cackles.
Yeah, he was in Interstellar.
He was in Interstellar. That's his claim to fame now. Because he had no acting career. He lost it, and then he came back and he was like, "I'm in Interstellar." And now
He
he's
was
in
in
films
Interstellar.
again.
It was a really good
What
film.
happened? I thought, can we all agree that he shouldn't be in stuff? And take that mullet. Take it back to where it came from. Also,
Bring
okay.
it back to Australia. We'll take it.
Well, the mullet.
Yeah.
We can't afford the shipping. It's pretty expensive. It's gonna take like 2 weeks. You know it's gonna take 2 weeks.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so overall, if we ground up everything that we've learned about this film and everything we know about the source material and the reasons why it failed,
So the narrative.
the narrative just structurally like kind of isn't. It's almost there, but there's not enough punch to it. Like it starts in the wrong place. It
Yeah.
needs to start with Roland. They needed to do. It should be slow. I've said this before. If you're gonna do a Dark Tower book, it has to be slow and like.
Yeah.
It has to be methodical. It has to be very character focused. It should have been him and Jake walking in a desert for 30 minutes.
What I was thinking about it was that, like, coming out of it, like, I feel nothing for any of the characters. Like,
Right.
if I cared in the slightest, I'm like, if they'd set it up properly, I would have cared when the mum died. Like,
But you were just like, eh.
I looked over. You were not crying. I was just like, this film's shit. Yeah.
right? Because I cry in films a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's always a good like indicator if a character is written well. It's if they die, Laura cries.
Interesting. I haven't
But
cried
if
in
they're
15
shit,
years.
if it's a shit film, Laura will not cry.
Oh my god, I didn't know that was your barometer.
It's good to know
it's a
that it is, though.
baseline
This is
barometer.
interesting. This is good. So knowing that, and knowing that like those characters could have been really interesting, I think the simple fix for this, it's really obvious, right? You don't start Jake in New York. You start him in Midworld, but you don't start with Jake. You start with Roland, and just like in the book, he's plodding along, doing his own thing. He comes
Yeah,
upon Jake. And Jake is just like, this kid from New York has no idea what the fuck's going on, and Roland has to deal with him. And the funnest thing about the book is Roland's like, I don't want this. Like, I don't want you, but you've got some psychic power. I can use you to help, disarm the Man in Black.
You know, I think the biggest problem with it is from about like halfway, not even halfway through, like when you meet, from the first moment you meet Roland, you know exactly how the film is going to end.
Of course, yeah. You know that he's going to be the hero.
You're like, oh, they're going to
Yeah.
kill the
Gonna
Man in
save
Black and
the
save
world.
the day.
Yeah.
And
And
the
it's like-
tower's not going to fall. You're like, that's what's going to happen in this film, and it
Good point,
happens
actually.
that way.
Yeah.
Could you imagine if he killed Jake? Oh my
Again,
God, this
like
film would have been
It would have
genius.
been so much better if he just fucking shot the kid.
If he'd been like, I can't kill Martin, and then he did the bullet thing, but it went off and it killed Jake.
No, I think it needs to be intentional.
No, yeah,
I think
he
Jake
needs to-
needs to be
Like,
like.
No,
Yeah.
that was on purpose. He's a gunslinger. But yeah, I see what
Right.
you mean.
Yeah.
Still, that was a cool moment. But no,
Oh no, yeah. The bouncing thing was intentional. I know that.
But I think if he killed, I didn't mean like an accident. I
He
meant
needs
like
to
murder.
intentionally kill.
He needs to do a murder because
the kid.
he murders Jake so many times in those books, and it's always good. But like, what? How do you misinterpret a narrative structure so badly that you get to the point, the clinch point, the climax? You go from crisis to climax. You get to the climax. You've resolved the crisis by saying, okay, Roland is fighting, maybe for Jake, probably not, just to save the tower. It's a
He
good
never-
crisis, and then at the climax point where he has to pull the gun, kill the boy, he saves him.
The thing is, Roland never had a character arc in this film. Like, his character arc was, I'm
I'm a
a
badass.
gunslinger, but I'm not a gunslinger, and I'm going to save the day by re-embracing my gunslinger self.
That's so wrong.
That's not a character arc.
So
He never
bad.
had that turning point where he's like, I'm going to help you to stop the Dark Tower from falling, because the whole way through he's just like, fuck it, fuck the tower, I don't care.
Stupid. It's stupid. It's so dumb. From a character perspective, Roland starts the film, right? Agree. Roland starts the film as just a boy. He's after the tower, we think. Turns out he's maybe pissed off about Martin because maybe he did some stuff with Roland's mom. It's not important. Killed Roland's dad. It's not important. None of that matters. What Roland cares about is the tower. But we start to like slowly understand that maybe it's about Martin as much as it's about the tower. But in this, straight away, it's like, no, he's just after Martin.
You're saying Martin.
His name is Martin. It's not Walter. His name is Martin. It's not Walter.
Walter.
It's not Walter.
Just edit that over every time you say Martin.
Walter. Cut that over the top. But like, why would you ruin that ending? Like, I just don't. The character arc for Roland should be, I've been challenged by this thing. I've saved this town. That's a fun thing where he saves the town for his own selfish reasons. That's kind of complex. That's a complex character moment.
Right.
He saves a whole town of people for his own reasons to get to the... Like, that's complex. That's nice. I like that. For revenge, he saved a whole bunch of people. Cool. And then at the end, you go, well, actually, has he learned anything? Turns out, no, he's as bad as ever. That's a good ending. Not, yeah, he's a hero, but he saved the day without hurting anyone. What? And he got his revenge also, and he saved the kid.
Hurt one person.
We killed Martin, but Martin's an evil boy. Sorry, Walter. Fuck.
Can we do some quick takes before we?
Yeah, go for it.
The pacing was shit. It was way too fast. Like, so many shots should have lasted at least a second longer. The editing sucked because of before mentioned pacing. The dialogue sucked my dick.
Did it? Was it?
It was
Sandy tongue.
It was so bad.
Oh my God.
The kid, the line that the kid delivered,
one was that?
like triggered him off at the end. He's just like, "You killed my mother." Brain explosion.
Hey, real quick though, why was the dialogue so not good? Because it's really easy. The book gives it to you. They're like, everyone in that world talks weird and funny, and it's good. And they were like, nah.
The fighting
what's
was.
the forgotten the face of your father?
so
thing? That's really weird.
Yeah, so that's like again, but it shouldn't have felt weird because if they talked like everyone in the books, it would have been fine. But so
I feel like that was like the big epic thing, but they just kind of floundered it a bunch.
I mean, I still got a little bit of goosebumps the first time I heard it, but the whole premise of that is that yeah, it's fine. You didn't need to. It's like the credo of the gunslingers, and it's all about like you have to become this knight, to become this machine of death. You have to kind of forsake the other parts of you. Like it's the idea is like if you kill with your gun, you're killing for your own reasons. You've forgotten the face of your father, which is the same way of saying like you've forgotten where you come from. You've forgotten what it means to be a gunslinger. And it's like if you kill with if you kill with your eye, you're killing to achieve something.
You aim with your eye.
Or when you whatever it is. I'm just mad. I can't think. And like the whole point of it is like if you do those things, you actually like forsaken the gunslinger credo, which is that you kill for the right reasons, and that's to protect the Gilead and to protect the Eld and to protect the line of the Eld and to sort of follow in Arthur's footsteps. But in this, it just kind of felt like they threw it in there because they were like, "What's in the books? Better put it in." The rest of the dialogue would have felt less weird if it wasn't.
Well,
in there.
yeah, it was the text at the start of the film, was that like ripped from the book?
No, they just made that up. The line
that's good.
The line that was ripped from the book that I legitimately got fucking chills from was when there was like a black screen and a woman said, "The man in black fled across the desert. The gunslinger followed." That's the first line and the last line of the books, and I legitimately got like genuine chills. I know it's like not a good film, but I got genuine chills because it's just like hearing that in the theater.
That's that fan service, yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, good.
That
like,
was
yes,
kinda
please.
weird,
Why
though,
didn't
'cause
the
it was
film
like-
start with that?
Yeah, no, but like
The film started literally
who
with a
even was
blaring
that woman
alarm.
meant to be? Like, it was so out of place in the film, like where it was.
She's an oracle. It's fine.
The
she's a
sage?
character, but no, she's not that character. The character's not even in the book. Character's not in the book. They made her up.
Okay.
I'm furious again.
You are.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess I'll say this from a narrative structure perspective, we can see where they were coming from.
Yeah.
My curiosity here is, how did they go from, I guess, because this film had a lot of kind of needing as far as the getting it to film stage. Like, there was a lot of failed, like, launches of this, a lot of failed stuff. Ron Howard came on board and was like, I guess that's fine. That feels like his whole influence at this point. He was like, I can't do anything, I guess it's fine.
Yeah.
What if you could change anything about this, like, cosmetically to fix it, aside from the ending, which we know would fix it?
I would, honestly, I would get
I don't think just
the...
the ending would fix it, though.
Honestly, if the action was, like, more John Wicky,
Yep.
I would be okay with this film as it is, because I just want more films that play
do that.
out like John Wick.
And it was this close to doing it.
Yeah, and like he's a cool character. Like the dual, like, fucking classic revolvies it's a cool archetype. It's very cowboy.
I definitely
cowboy.
think my vote goes towards better characterization, just in terms of like maybe you could sacrifice some of the other characters that are in the film in order to have more characterization for the main characters.
You could just add
and just
30
make
minutes to
you-
the film.
Like, true.
It's an
Like,
hour and a
just-
half.
Yeah, so that people care more, because
Spend more time in Midworld.
Because I
With
want
Roland,
to.
yeah.
I mean, I don't necessarily need to be bawling when the mum dies, but like,
You've gotta
I
feel
should
something.
feel
Yeah.
something.
Even on Jake's behalf, you should be like,
Like-
oh, that sucks.
The thing is, like, thinking about it,
killed
like,
my mother.
the woman who played the mother, she was a decent actress. Like, she had, like, the emotions
She
and
had
stuff.
it. Yeah,
And, like,
she got that range.
And I'm like, you know, oh, there's this woman who's fucking terrified for her life, and it's like, I should have felt something.
But you
Better
don't.
cut away. Better
Also-
cut somewhere else.
Also, I thought the best parts of that was when, like, I thought this was really cool, like the tension between her and her husband. Sorry, her and her sort of new partner.
And then he just kind of dies.
And Jake's, and you know, about whether Jake is insane. And then
He
she's.
dies.
There should have been a moment.
Linger on the fact that
Like,
So weird. There should have been a moment where she was like, "Is my kid insane?" Like they should have had a moment where she
I
was
like.
like, "Do
Well, I
I
like
believe
the
my
moment
kid?"
where she was like, "That's the guy from the drawings." I thought that was a nice like bit. Where she
Yeah.
That
just
was like almost really compelling.
you're
the
like,
whole setup.
oh, it's so close.
Because what? And then what if she was like, "Am I losing it as well?"
Yeah.
Like, and maybe that's something that Walter could have played with. But again, it
And
doesn't
instead
happen.
of doing anything interesting with her character, he's
just
like,
kill
no,
her.
I'm gonna fucking murder her,
fuck?
and that's gonna be it.
also,
is
I
so
thought,
not Martin
I thought
style.
I thought the pacing of the psych people, like
the pacing of the side.
So when
which were they?
So when the people come to his house to like pick him up,
oh,
and like he's
from
like
the asylum,
he sees like the scar, and then he escapes, and then it's immediately just like confirmed that yes, they are evil. You're like,
so lazy.
yeah, it's like give it a bit more, like give us like a few moments where he thinks he sees the crazy people and he runs off, but actually they're just normal human beings. Like give a build up. Do
Give
the
us-
rule of three.
The thing
You
is,
gave
like-
us one psych.
Do a Stephen King. Honestly, just do a Stephen King.
Yeah.
Like it's not he perfected that shit, and you're like, no, I
The
think
thing
we're
is,
just gonna
like,
not do it.
they make it so obvious because they're like, oh, there's that scar down the side of the neck.
Yeah.
Oh, that, you know what that means. and
Give
you
us
know,
the character turning the other way and not being a scar, and then Jake being like, wait, like give
Yeah.
us anything that is like complexity of characterization and narrative, not
Give
just.
us doubt.
Give us like
Whoa.
shots of him looking at that location on people's ears. Like give us shots of him like checking
him
people.
being paranoid. That
Yeah,
would be
him
the
being
best
really
shit.
paranoid. And then when he finally sees the scar, it's a big moment, and you're like, oh, not just
Yeah.
seeing the scar and going, oh look, it's the scar.
Yeah, again, like this film was an hour and a half. It could have been.
I feel like they cut out a lot of. I feel like that's why it has problems. I feel like there's a really good extended cut somewhere.
No, well, yeah, but the truth is that I think what they did is they went this extended cut, and like I genuinely believe this happened. This extended cut, the 2-hour cut, which I assume exists, if it does,
Definitely does.
they went, this is too complex, because the thing about this, like I imagine the first copy on the cutting room floor, they went, no one's gonna understand this, they're gonna hate it. Because just like imagine you're a Hollywood
And then,
studio.
like,
Imagine you're a
Yeah.
Hollywood studio and that happens, and you
Because
go,
then they make this though. It's like,
well, you're like, how do we fix it? Well, we're going to trim out the complicated stuff, and then we're going to add voiceovers from other characters, expositioning to make it clearer. You can see how they got from something good to this.
and we're
'cause
gonna
there's good
redub a
stuff
bunch
in
of
there.
it. It's gonna be done really bad.
And we're going to redouble it, and we're going to recut a few scenes that are going to look weird at the start. You're going to be like, is
Yeah.
that cut weird? Like, it just, I can see how they had something good in here, and it just got ruined by trying to make it accessible instead of making it good. And that's something that we learned from like Spider-Man Homecoming. It's like, you can just make a good film.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like they cut a lot of like a lot of the times where a shot or a cut should have been delayed by at least like just a bit more to sort of portray the fact that it's a change of time or a change of scene, because there are a lot of cuts in the film, and I feel like this is where they scraped a lot of time off, was where like there'd be a cut where they would be next to each other, and then it would cut really quickly to them sort of being apart and like talk. This was fairly early on, and like
Yep.
talking at a distance where it's implied that like some time has passed, but
You can tell that was clearly shots in between of
not even shots in
or
between. But
just-
there should have just been slightly more time for that
let
to let you go, okay, it's not,
We've moved.
You know, this isn't a reverse shot where they're suddenly teleported. Like it's a different
I mean,
scene.
a part of me feels like that's a relic of the source material in some ways, and it's not good filmmaking, but it's
No, I
it's
think
a,
it's just bad filmmaking.
well, it is bad filmmaking, but I think it's a relic of them going, well, the vibe of that first interaction between them is like you get segments of their relationship over like a week traveling in the desert. So I think
Not even that.
It
just
wasn't even that
But
long.
they don't even
ago.
hit that. I
It's
think
in the
it's just
same
bad.
Like in
location.
the movie, it was like it's the fucking day. That's about it. Like they don't even get a chance to build up.
Yeah,
a
there's even a
relationship.
time-
There's not even like a meaningful relationship between the kid and the gunslinger. It's just
also, how dare Roland call him a gunslinger at the end? What the fuck was that?
what?
Roland calls
yeah,
Jake
he
a
did,
gunslinger.
yeah.
You have to fucking pass a trial. You have to study for years.
Did that trigger
He
you?
killed his fucking
Oh my
mentor to become a gunslinger. What are you talking about? Fuck that. I was shitty. And then I saw the rose and I was like, good. Because they know me too well. But like, what was that about? Like, don't just, ugh.
Yeah, the only characterization they really gave Roland was the Born Yesterday trope. That was really about the most substance he got.
I think
Give
he
me
had
more of that sugar.
he had a bit of. I thought he
funny.
had a bit. Yeah, it is funny. He has Pepsi in the book for the first time in like the 6th book or something, and he's like the stoic gunslinger the whole
They
throughout
do
the way.
coke in
And
the
he's like,
movie.
whew.
And they did it in the first one, which is kind of a waste because it's a really good like you get it like really late on. He's in like an executive office with like these people that are protecting the tower, and they like walk him in and they give him a fucking Pepsi, and he loses his goddamn mind. And it's
my
real
God.
good. But in this, they were like, have a Coke, and he just shrugs. I wanted him to be like childlike, be like, oh my god, what is this?
Yeah,
Like,
and
give
be
me that
like
Idris
hyper
Elba
for at
flair.
least one more scene.
Disappointing. But I will say this. I think,
Also, he doesn't die from all of those fucking painkillers.
yeah,
That
again,
would straight up kill a man, yeah.
so in this, for some reason, Roland has like some kind of a healing situation happening, which I thought was odd.
I heal faster than most,
says that
and then
he
the
heals
wound
fast,
doesn't
and
heal
then,
at all.
like, his
He's
wound
not.
gets infected, so you're like, is
So
he telling
was he
the truth?
lying? It's so
I
confusing.
think the implication in the film is that he thinks
He's
he
just
does because
lying.
he's from Gilead and he's like of the Eld, but I think he's just a normal dude.
I think he is, yeah.
But again,
Because
because there's
sweet guns.
too much exposition in certain parts and not enough in others, it feels like a mistake instead of intentional. Like anything in this that was vague felt like an accident because so much of it was explained. I think that's why it
Yeah.
sucks so hard a lot of the time. Like so hard. Like
Also, I found the thing in, like, when they go into the gun store and they hold up the dude at gunpoint.
You don't hold up a gun store. That's how you get shot immediately. I was like,
yeah,
holding up a
again.
gun store, you're just gonna get shot.
It's like,
Yeah.
why don't you just fucking buy the stuff?
Not even that. Like, that's such a weird disconnect from reality. Like
I
nowadays,
know.
if you hold up a gun store, you get shot.
yeah,
I
but
was
again,
like,
they
you're in a fucking gun store.
again,
the
it's a
dude's
PG
probably
film,
got
so-
guns.
yeah, they also fucked that up. Again, like clearly someone read that in the
not doing
No,
this.
someone read that in the book and went, remember in the book when Roland holds up a gun store? And someone went, yeah, that was good. But in the book, Martin's controlling the guy the whole time. Like, it's just so much of like someone told someone else that told Ron Howard what happened in the books.
Also, I like
Ugh.
how the
Fucking dumb.
I like
It
how
was a dumb
somehow the gun store has like gunshot noise activated roller door.
Oh, actually,
he
gun
fires
stores,
a gun. and
gun
you're
stores
like,
in America
"What?
do have that, I think.
Wait, really?
I think so, yeah.
What?
I think if it's
But
not
he
a gun
doesn't
range.
get shot. But
Yeah, if it's not a gun range, that like legitimately is a thing, I think.
really?
Yeah.
Tell
don't
us
know.
in the comments.
Tell us, give us the googs for us.
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing.
It may not be, or it might have just been
Maybe
Martin.
it is, and
May-
I'm just
maybe
like,
It could have just been
woo!
the Man in
assumed
Black.
We live in
it was
Australia
Men in
where we don't
Black,
have
but I
guns.
don't know.
Yeah, we don't have any guns here. We don't know how
They
guns
played
go.
so much of that.
I assumed
like,
it was the
they're
Men-
like,
Men in Black,
yeah,
yeah.
he's gonna straight up hold a gun store, and they play it completely straight, and it's like,
So weird.
You're like,
it should have been
"That's
weird
really
and funny, like it was in everything else that they've done in this fucking
Yeah,
source material.
The kid should have been like,
Oh,
"What are you doing?"
Why was this so
But
not
instead,
fun?
he's like, "No, you should listen to him, and you won't get hurt." It's like, "Kid, you're 12."
Ben, why was this film not fun? The books are so fun and weird, and this was so
because
not
the
fun.
kid looked like he hadn't slept in a week.
oh
that-
my god, the
nah.
bags under his eyes.
To be fair, that's
like,
That was some like goth makeup going on.
Again, that's like a thing that would have made sense if they'd spent time with them. Like
Yeah.
again, like all of this stuff. Every problem with this film is because you don't. Well, that's not true. A lot of the problems with these characters are because you don't spend time with them, right? It's like why does
Right.
Jake look
So it's
so
the pacing.
tired? So the
Problem with
pacing's
film is the pacing.
because they cut off half an hour of film.
Yeah, they absolutely cut
and they
out
were like
a lot.
an hour and a half. Perfect. What? That's like a Dragon Ball Z film, not a Hollywood blockbuster.
Yeah, that's
Dark
like a
Knight's
kids
like
film
2.5
from like 3 years ago.
2.5
Yeah.
hours long. That's a great film.
Well, films now
Yeah.
the standard film like now is 2 hours.
Also, give me a false ending where he
And
kills the kid and then has
I
to
don't
go and
know
do something
why
else.
they
Give me
like,
that.
Why do I feel like what they tried to do with the kid a bit was that they were like,
He's the Messiah.
we're gonna make it a kid because people find kids relatable, right? Kids are relatable, and it's like because you were saying that like the gunslinger should have been the main character, and it's like, guys,
Can we talk about how quickly he punched out that bully at the start of the film? That was
oh my god,
one
it
of the
was
best scenes in the
lightning
film.
fast.
That was he's just like
That
it's
tells
like
you
one
everything-
word, the bully gets one word out, the kid's just like thwomp.
That scene is
Pacing.
the strong. Well, no, that scene is the strongest piece of like character exposition without saying anything in the whole
whomps
film.
the kid.
Immediately, and it was fun and it was funny because
So
why was the whole
bad.
film like?
He flips out over this like book.
Because he's a fucking weird
Which
kid.
he then throws through a random portal, and you're like, wow, dude.
I can't.
Also, House Demon?
Sorry?
House Demon.
Oh,
Wanna explain that to us, David?
they really rushed through that. So the
Yeah.
idea in the book, it's
How
not
did
a,
he kill it? He just kind of
yeah,
screamed.
so- okay.
psychic powered it.
so
away.
in the
Okay.
so the premise of that, which
I
they
just thought
didn't
he screamed a
they didn't
bunch.
execute
the
so
thing
good.
was just like, oh, okay.
No,
Yeah.
later on they explained that it was psychic power.
Yeah.
in the book.
I wasn't paying
It's
attention.
not a giant wood thing. I think it's hard. A lot of the stuff would be hard to visualize because it's not. A lot of it doesn't happen. It's just like it's so hard to explain. Okay, so a lot of the stuff that Roland and Jake experience in the books is like an invisible force kind of comes at them and it's mental and it's that kind of thing. And the house demon is the same thing, and Jake visualizes it as this kind of big wood monster so that he can defeat it, and that's his strength is the visualization, right? But in this, it just was a big wood demon, and then he was a
didn't
bit
even
upset.
do anything. He was just like he
was like,
just
"Don't bloody
screamed,
do
and it's
it."
He was like, please! And it's like, all right.
He was like, "Cool, I guess
Cool,
if you
sure.
say your ass nicely."
Yeah.
and it's just like
All he had to do was scream.
We have to end this episode, but I just wanted more, and there was so much of this that was so tantalizingly close to what I wanted, but the whole package was not good.
I'm sad for you, David.
They could
Yeah, I
fix
feel- I
the
feel
worst
bad for
thing.
you, 'cause you had to
The
pay for
worst
our
thing-
tickets.
The worst thing about this is they could make another film and fix it. That's the beauty of this world. They could make another one and make it perfect, but they won't.
No, they won't. Because they'll look at
And
this and be
I'm
like, well, it wasn't successful.
furious.
Clearly,
The-
audiences
Furious.
don't want
Yeah.
this
Oh, they'll be
film.
like, oh, people don't like this IP, obviously, because it didn't do
And then
well.
now no one's going to make, like, Stephen King
You know who they
novels.
have to give it to?
Films.
Joss Whedon. Give it to Joss Whedon. They can do a Firefly, but it's Dark Tower, and just make it happen.
Just give it to anyone.
Give it to literally anyone else
it
except
to
8
Wes
people.
Anderson.
Give it. No, don't do that.
Turn it into a musical.
Don't. I've got to leave. Ben, do the thing where you end the show. Wait, do we have no recommendations? That's what we do at the end of this. Any recommendations for this week?
Sonic
Gang.
Mania.
Yeah, Ben's been fucking
Boy,
with that Nintendo
that's a
Switch.
good game.
Laura, have you been catching anything this week? Playing, listening to, watching?
I've been playing Lara Croft Go. It's a pretty
What
good
is
puzzle
that?
game.
It's a mobile
on
puzzle game.
Mobile.
Interesting.
It's a really good puzzle game.
Interesting. I guess people.
I've been playing Deus Ex Go. It's the same game, just different skin.
I
Hey, David, what have you been playing?
Have
Have you won a solo game in PUBG yet?
fuck off. I hope you spat your beer.
Chicken dinner,
No,
boys.
I've been watching The Defenders because that's coming up next week
Yeah,
on
I need to
AFA.
watch that as well.
But also I've been playing the new series of the Batman Telltale game. I just finished the first episode of season 2.
Do you punch up some boys? Do you
It's
solve
really
some crimes?
good though. You punch
Be
up a
the
lot of
bat?
boys and you solve a lot of crime.
Sounds like a
Nice.
good Batman
You
game.
dress like a bat and you're a Bruce Wayne.
You're a Bat Boy.
It's great. I really love it. It's like hot nonsense, but I love it.
Yeah.
Ben, do the thing where you end the show. Have we-
Facebook.
you got to do that. You can't just jump to it. Where can people find us?
Facebook.
DCM Works Social.
Twitter.
DCM_Works.
YouTube.
YouTube.com/DCM Works every time.
Patreon.
Patreon.com/DCMworks. We have some new stuff going up soon. If you are a patron, you can get early access to the Potentially Boys t-shirt. that we have coming
Potentially
up.
boys.
If you don't
Oh,
know,
I'm so excited.
if you
for
don't know that
t-shirt.
reference, every Sunday morning we live stream PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. It will be a new
And
game eventually, but for now we're loving it.
We say that
We
phrase a lot.
say that phrase a lot, so there's a t-shirt coming out. It's gonna
Yeah.
look fucking dope.
Yeah.
But speaking of t-shirts, gang, what are we wearing?
Whoa, we're wearing
that
our-
new
we're wearing
shit.
The merch.
Yay.
So
We're
we've
all-
got
we're all-
the
we're
new
all
logo
here.
t-shirts
There
have
it is.
arrived. The pillow's not here yet, but man, I'll Photoshop that in. If you want to get a sweet DCMworks t-shirt with the logo on it, you can go to redbubble.com/people/DCMworks. It's a pocket tee for now. We're going to do a central one at some point. I've got some new designs that I'm thinking of, but for now it's just a pocket tee.
Shout outs to that dude that did our new logo.
Yeah.
How's
Random
new
internet
logo's
boy.
good,
It's
yeah.
real good.
Thanks,
Thanks
guy.
99 Designs, which is the company we use.
Yeah.
So if, actually, this isn't a paid ad, but if you do need a logo, it's a really good system. Go to 99
Yeah, it's a lot
Designs.
of fun actually.
Yeah, you start a competition, you got to
Yeah.
vote on it. It's really fun.
You get like a bunch of entries. You're like, wow,
Yeah.
these are all okay.
They're all fun.
Then there's one really good one.
and you're like,
"Woo,
I want it.
That's the one.
It's real good. So make sure you check that out. Redbubble.com. All the links are in the show notes. I already read the URL. Don't fucking
Yeah.
laugh at me. All the links are in the show notes. But as always, I'm at DZ on my hip pie,
I'm at Literal Citrus.
I'm at Laura Ducky B.
and we'll see you guys next time. It was probably a song that reminded me of it, or I'd done an Arnold Schwarzenegger voice.
Writing is definitely an isolating thing.
From an outside perspective, that's weird as
It makes
fuck.
us look really mental.
But that is
because of what it kind of said about art.
I had fun in bits. There were fun bits.
we went and bought a value pack of straps.
Oh my god, we did. There's a big lesson here to learn about storytelling.